It's Thursday in the NHL, and that means you are tuned and tapped into your source for fantasy hockey news and daily degenerate gambling breakdowns, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And with news across the league, we need to get to Tristan Jarry, Huberdeau, big time bets. We got a big time episode ready to go. Thank you for joining us. Let's tap in.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And I am joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Rodin. On this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Network, your team every single day. Steele, I missed you yesterday big time, as always. But what I'm not missing out on is all of the news that's going around the NHL. I feel tapped in right now. Maybe it's because I got a little bit extra time on me hands, but I have eyes on everything going on in the NHL right now. Some of it I'm not really liking. And I got to start with the Jonathan Huberdeau situation. Not on today's episode. We're going to talk about Jarry, but I mean with what I'm not liking. Huberdeau is going through the motions out there. And I actually love the head coach move of him benching him for the whole third period. We're going to talk about him. Thank you. We're going to talk about him, the Flames, what's going on out west once again. Tristan Jarry, let's talk about that first before we obviously get to the end of the show and big time bets. I'm hyped for your bets today, 11-game betting board. But Tristan Jarry, that play, I don't know if you saw it. It didn't look good. And head injuries, whiplash injuries, neck injuries. He also had a cut on his face. They're never good. But what's not good is what's going on in Pittsburgh overall. And that's what we're going to start. Flip it over to you. No pun intended. What's your take on this? I don't know if you saw the play or not. He was bloodied above his right eye. He made 21 shots, stopped before his exit. Hit me with your take on this because there's a lot of pressure in Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm just hoping it's not that serious. And I know it looks pretty bad. And obviously with the cut around his eye doesn't help the situation. But I'm really just hoping that it's just a tweak in the neck and no serious concussion on the play. Yeah. You know, at first glance, it didn't really look too hard of a hit. Like I've seen bigger hits when guys are flying by the blue paint. So it didn't look as vicious as we've seen prior in different instances. But obviously any contact to the head and that little motion right there, you're always going to be... Yeah, the whiplash motion, you're always going to be a little stunned, a little shocked. And again, hopefully it's just a minor tweak to the neck. But honestly, this actually may be good for Jarry to get some rest and quickly regroup mentally and physically and just take a little bit of a break because I haven't been too happy with his game. And at the same time, I'm not disappointed as well. I'm in the in the middle somewhere. I'm in neutral territory about how I've watched his game so far this season in the 9 games that he's played. He's 4-5-0. He's got 2 shutouts, but he's got a .907 save percentage and a .251 goals against average. It's not great stats, but it's not horrible. But again, just the inconsistency right now, because I know he has the confidence, but it's the lack of the lack of consistency that has really been the most aware so far in the first 9 games. You know, he played great the last 2 against the Sharks and Ducks, not the greatest of competitions, but again, played 2 great games against those before he obviously got injured. And then the 2 previous to that, he allowed 3 goals on 9 shots against the Ottawa Senators and had 4 goals against on 27 shots the previous. And then 5 games before that, he gets a 31 save shutout against the Colorado Avalanche. So the very fluctuation of his playing ability right now and the inconsistency, because I know he's got the talent, I know he's got the confidence, but really just trying to find a middle ground of bringing that game from game to game. So that's what I'm looking for in a little bit of this regroup, rejuvenate. Again, we're only 9 games in, but it looks like he needs it again with something of an injury that could help him.
I actually don't hate that angle that you're taking because I don't know what he needs. If it's a reset, if it's some time to rest, through an injury, I don't know. I don't hate what you're getting at. What I am a little bit cheesed about here is this Pittsburgh Penguins situation overall is they don't have the luxury of Tristan Jarry being able to do that. As much as I agree with you, he might need that time. I don't think actually, though, after I look at his numbers, that I'm actually doubting his ability. Overall, 121 wins, 65-20 is his record, 913 save percentage, in his career since entering the league in 2016, 2017. It's about his ability to stay consistent and stay in that crease. We know he's dealt with injuries, and we know also, Steele, that this is the oldest club in the NHL, and their core pieces are all within the ages of 33 to 37. Erik Karlsson comes in with a whole batch of other new faces. Ryan Graves, Riley Smith, Lars Eller, Nola Chari. We like those moves. But what happens when, and I think you and I both agreed on this point, that chemistry, growing pains with that many new players in the lineup is going to happen. And I'm a little bit concerned about this Pittsburgh Penguins team's ability to turn this around in enough time to get it done. I know everyone that I talk to right now, everyone's always like, but it's early. People, they have one less point than the Philadelphia Flyers, and they're in a Metro division that has the Rangers, Hurricanes, Devils, and Islanders. And we're not even talking about the fading Capitals, which I think you and I can both agree on that one. They're probably going to be out of the picture, but still ahead of the Penguins. And lastly, Magnus Hellberg comes in relief of Tristan Jarry. Alex Nedeljkovic is on the IR. I'm actually not quite sure if there is a clear-cut return for him. I think it's sooner than later, but I'm really not sure. If Magnus Hellberg is the goalie that they have to rely on, of course, Steele, this makes him fantasy relevant because week to week, he's probably going to get the run out now. But what does this mean for the success of this team? I'm really concerned because you and I also can agree on the fact that this core, at some point, Letang, Malkin, Karlsson, or even Sid, even though Sid's been very, very healthy, someone else is going to get banged up. And if you couple that with your starting netminder being down, this team is not deep enough to come back from those kinds of injuries.
Yeah, and the fact that we talk about as well, like you were just mentioning, that it's still early on in the season. Look, we're 9 games in for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We know that you can't win. You can't win right away to start off a season, but you can certainly lose and miss the playoffs to begin. So just because it's early in the season doesn't mean that it doesn't mean as much as it does later on or in the middle of the season. So
I like that take.
Look, and we know, again, like you've said so many times, that this is going to be one of their last, if not their last chance with his core right now
window closing.
To get going on the offensive side of things, help down in the defensive side of things, and their goaltenders. So there's a lot of things going on with the Penguins right now that need to get wrapped up real quick because there's been some ugly moments out there. I think the one highlight that I've really liked is Riley Smith. He's been a great addition to the lineup so far. 6 goals, 5 assists, and he's playing great up and down the lineup. But other than that, the bottom 6, the guys that Kyle Dubas has brought in this offseason haven't panned out so far. We know this is one of the older teams, probably the second oldest team in the NHL right now. And they've got to figure it out fast because you can't rely on Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and even Jake Gensel to do all the things in the offensive zone.
Shout out to Josh Wegman of the Score app, longtime friend of the show, to make the highlight and point that the underlying metrics for this team they've been kind of unlucky. They're right in the middle of the pack of the power play again, right in the middle of the pack on the penalty kill. They've actually scored in the top half in the NHL in total goals. They've been a lot better than I think their record has indicated, but this is the NHL, and you made the points. This will catch up to you very quick, Steele. The rest of this episode is going to catch up to us quick because right around the break, we're talking about Jonathan Huberdeau. We're talking about the Calgary Flames and what's going on out west. And, of course, 11 games on tap for the NHL betting board tonight. I got to pay these bills. Christmas, the holidays, Hanukkah, everything's on the way, Steele, and we're saving up those pills. But today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. We spend a lot of time talking together, fantasy heads, you and I and Steele. We get fired up together, wins, losses, who starts, who sits, and we're all thankful for you listening in every day and that connection we have. Today, I want to chat a little more personal. We just learned about a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue. You're covered. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or any other prescription, and it's possible because of our friends at Jace Chase Medical. Steele, this is a good one. Go online right now at chasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply of your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for discounts as well. If you or someone you love could get peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily med, go to chasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your favorite team from all 4 major sports leagues and the NCAA, your team every single day. Flip's making me laugh over here on the other side of things.
I probably should have read that one through a little bit, but that's all right, my man. Anyway, we're back, baby. We're
back.
We'll
get better on the next one.
Sorry about that.
All good in the hood for today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. You had me going there for a minute.
Sorry,
I was
Steele.
chuckling. It's all
that
good.
was serious. That was the read. Anyway, we don't need our boy Locke on our scene, but go ahead.
Exactly. But let's talk about the Calgary Flames again. Jonathan Huberdeau gets benched. I don't think this is the first time. It might be the first time he was benched for the entire period, but he has been benched before this season because of the lack of effort or just the lack of being able to get things done with his line mates or anything done offensively. And there's a lot we got to talk about. There's a lot I have to say on this subject matter as well. But I want you to start off with this and where you feel as a GM for fantasy hockey, if you own this player, where do you go from here, as well as what do you think, could he turn this around in the near future?
So I think this is right at the time of the season, Steele, fantasy-wise, and I said this on yesterday's episode, that a lot of GMs, like let's say you've struggled to start the year, you're maybe down the standings in your league, or you've lost a bunch of matchups if it's a head-to-head, and you start to fade out and you start to like really not pay attention for a little bit. This next little stretch, I swear, is so critical, because even if you haven't performed, and some of these guys who are really big names in Huberdeau, and obviously it doesn't matter how much he gets paid in terms of your fantasy teams, but the big money guys, you can't look. Someone dropped Matty Beniers the other night. He had 2 assists. Someone dropped Jordan Kyrou last week, all over it. This is just one of those situations that I would say right now, it's very close to letting go of Jonathan Huberdeau, for sure. He's going through the motions out there, Steele. I would just hate to be, because probably you're invested into this player at a pretty high round. Yeah. So I would say this, depending on your format, depending on where you are in your league, and depending on where you drafted Jonathan Huberdeau, and lastly, who can you fill in for him? I'm going to say this. Leave him for 1 more week. I want to see how he responds. I love this move by the head coach. Is it Ruxa? I always butcher that. Ruxa. I like that move. I think more players in the NHL could probably stand to do better from some of that motivating. Anyway, Jonathan Huberdeau, this year, Steele, not good enough once again. 2 goals, 4 assists. I say, wait 1 more week. Let's see how he responds. But my goodness, what another disappointment for a guy that I think, Steele, looks to be just going through the motions. And he gets sat for the whole 3rd period, and that team came back and won. So what does that tell you? Just saying, just throwing it out there.
It's a big message to the entire group of the Calgary Flames, sitting their highest paid player, most likely that should be their best player. When a player makes $10.5 million, this is the 8th highest contract amongst forwards, the 10th highest contract overall in the NHL. But when you make that much money, you have to be the best player almost every single game. You have to be the one driving you have to be the driving force, especially on the offensive side of things. You know, like you said, he's going through the motions right now. I feel for the guy, because you can see it on his face. There's nothing he can do. He's trying out there, but no matter what, it looks bad, whatever way you look at it. And again, it's not just him. The entire team is struggling to find chemistry right now, to find the open man and actually capitalize on scoring chances. But again, when you're the highest paid player on your team and you're in the first season of this monster contract that you just signed, and 2 seasons ago, you just had 115 points. You need to be the best player right now. And right now he's the worst player. So personally, when it comes to, what to do with him, I personally wouldn't have the strength to drop him. Others might be, like we've
Fair.
seen.
Yeah.
He's
No,
down to 54% on Yahoo and
Mhm,
64% on ESPN.
mhm.
I would not have the strength to drop him unless this continued up until the new year. If
Sure.
by January 1st he's still not scoring, he's still not producing, the
Okay.
peripherals are down,
Mm.
and he's only got maybe like 20 points by then,
Yeah.
that's my line where I would be
Sure.
okay, I'm done with this player. But it would be hard to lose Jonathan Huberdeau because you know what he's capable of.
Last year, obviously, him not getting it done plays into the fact that a
Yeah.
lot of GMs are going to not have that patience. And I think it also just comes down to, and I think we've seen also, I straight up love all you guys in the comments, DMs, YouTube, everywhere, asking all these questions. We're flooded with them. We're trying to get back to all of them. Keep them coming. But what I've been saying to people is I think it's a week-to-week basis for me for Huberdeau. Also, the Flames have looked a lot better, quote unquote. Hey, let's slow down here. They were hot garbage to the start of the year. So looking better over the last two, maybe take it with a grain of salt, but they're winning. And I just want to leave it at this because this is where I'm not having this. This is the quote from the head coach. I like the move, but how about this? When asked about it, I thought Hubie had an off night. And when we went into the third period, we wanted to try to get a little bit more flow and went with the guys that we felt were going. Well, that's what it all came down to. End quote. How about this when asked again? He's fine. Was it effort related? Off night, shrugged Huska, downplaying it. That's Eric Francis of Sportsnet, a West Coast columnist that knows this team very well. If he's putting in words in his column, Steele, saying downplaying it, we're not hearing the end of this situation unless there's one thing that he can do: produce. And then we will talk about it in the other light. That's the only other way. Could it happen? Of course. But he is going to really need to turn it around. And if this team continues to win and his role diminishes, what do you do with all of that money and all that contract? You can't put him on the third line, Steele. My goodness. This is something that I talked about Edmonton, Calgary winning games at least. That could get real messy if they start to slide once again.
It has just been a rough situation for Jonathan Huberdeau and the Calgary Flames so far. Actually, for the entire team, for both teams in Alberta right now, it's been a rough start.
Thankfully, we're not betting on them.
Thank God we're not betting on them. Maybe we will be for these Thursday night bets. Before we get to big time bets, though, I want to talk about these two trades from Minnesota Wild real quickly that were today. Not much fantasy relation to it, but I just want to mention it. Minnesota Wild had two trades today. They receive a 2026 fifth round pick and Adam Raska from the San Jose Sharks for Calen Addison. Honestly, not a huge fan of that trade because I really like Calen Addison and what the potential he has. But obviously, Sharks need a defenseman, and they get a young stud in him. They also receive Zach Bogosian from the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 2025 seventh round pick. They just beef up their blue line, get a veteran presence on there. Instead of Calen Addison, and they've really found something in Brock Faber as well. So they just make a couple of trade picks as well as they get a veteran defenseman on that third pairing. Also, just want to mention how great Pat Maroon has been this season. 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. He already has 60% of the points he had from last year and only in 12 games. He's got 20 shots, 14 hits, 7 blocks. He's actually producing a lot on that third line with Joel Eriksson Ek and Marcus Foligno right now. So I just had to give a shout out to my Wild and Pat Maroon.
I was just going to say.
They're doing good things.
This is a little Minnesota Wild plug. But honestly, if Calen Addison starts to have an uptick in minutes, which obviously I think he is going to get. And look, the Sharks are hot garbage, but you and I have said digging into the trenches sometimes. I know right now is not the time to do it with the Sharks. Hey, you never know. You never know. He's got offensive capability. Quarterback in a power play is something that he's clearly able to do.
It's a tough group to quarterback.
But with that, anyway, Steele, hey, trades happen. You got to look at the opportunities that arise. That's just what you do as an astute GM, even if you're not really loving it overall. Thank you for the Minnesota Wild update. I would like to get the bets whenever you're ready.
And we're going to be talking about those San Jose Sharks very, very soon for big time bets. A little bit of a tease, but this episode is also brought to you by Parkview Advance. As a business owner, you realize there are times when receivables might fall behind, but that doesn't mean you need to fall behind on vendor payments, payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advance has helped businesses secure working capital from $5,000 to $1.5 million. Parkview Advance can improve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a much easier process than you might think. And we invite you, the many entrepreneurs that are locked on NHL fans, to learn more by calling us at 203-675-0071 or go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with the working capital. Go to parkviewadvance.com to learn more. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit that subscribe, hit the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us every single day. And Flip, we're going to show some support for our listeners today on big time bets, hopefully giving them some winning tickets, winning parlays, or winning bets, whatever you're looking at.
Yep.
I have 2 picks that I want to start off with. Actually, if you don't mind, I'll just rattle off all 3 of my picks real quickly.
Do it.
And I'm going to start with that Edmonton Oilers San Jose Sharks game. Obviously, it's been a rough go for the Edmonton Oilers. It's been a rough go for Connor McDavid recently. He hasn't looked great since return. And honestly,
they're saying he could be hurt, Steele. You seeing that? They're saying he might be playing through an injury, and I'm starting to maybe
that's what it seems like to be.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a huge injury. It's something that you can battle through.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start at that Oilers Sharks game. I'm gonna go to the Oilers puck line at -125. This is the exact game the Oilers need right now to just absolutely pump someone out there. Again, maybe it's a 9-1 or 9-3 type of game. Hopefully this gives some confidence to Stuart Skinner.
9-1, I would love that. Yeah,
would love to see that. Hopefully it gives some confidence to Stuart Skinner in the crease so he can get his mojo back. Hopefully Connor McDavid can get his mojo back, and that's where I go to my second pick. McDavid, maybe I take a step back now that you mentioned the injury, but if he's in the game, McDavid over 1.5 points in this matchup against the San Jose Sharks. I see him taking over against this very bad team on the Sharks on the West Coast, and he needs it. He's got 1 point in the last 3 games. That's a rarity for Connor McDavid. We've never seen this pretty much since his rookie season. Even in his rookie season, he was elite. But yeah, those are the first 2 picks. Oilers puck line -125. McDavid over 1.5 points. We'll get the odds out there an hour before puck drop.
Of course.
And then my last pick of the night, I'm going to take the Red Wings on the money line, -184 against the Montreal Canadiens.
Lock of the night?
Lock of the night. Red Wings are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games against the Canadiens. Red Wings. Sorry, that's not my lock of the night. Lock of the night is Oilers puck line.
Okay, my bad. Thank you. And we have 2 of the same picks, so this breakdown is going to be very short and sweet. Let me start with the one that we do not have the same. The Arizona Coyotes are already impressing. 6-5-1. And I know you and I throw out a lot of predictions on this show, but one of the ones that I'm going to happily stand by is that we both had this Arizona Coyotes team on the come up. Both goalies are playing pretty solid. The backup in Ingram, I saw a stat 5-1-0 or something like that with a .930 or something like that save percentage. This team is already impressing early. And when you take a look at their last 10 meetings against the St. Louis Blues, points in 8 of 10 games, including 6 victories. So hit me with the money line. Arizona on the road, plus money as well, Steele. I'll take plus money with the better team. Yeah, right now, all day. My last 2 picks, including my lock of the night, are the same 2 that you had. The Edmonton Oilers track record against the San Jose Sharks, 9-1-0 in their last 10 meetings against the Sharks, and 6 of those 9 wins by 2 or more goals. So hit me with the puck line bet on the Edmonton Oilers, -125. My lock of the night, Steele, the Detroit Red Wings. Look, the Montreal Canadiens started the season hot. They have come back to earth in a very big and nasty way. Well, and look,
4 straight losses for the Canadiens?
4 straight losses. Thank you, Steele. And the first 2 were close. Vegas by 1 goal, 3-2. The second one, Arizona, 3-2. But then you get the doors blown off by St. Louis 6-3, and then Tampa lays a licking on them. The 3-headed monster in net with Primo, Jake Allen, and Montembeault was working at the start of the year, but now all of a sudden they're not making saves as much, and the holes in this defensive lineup are showing. We like what's going on a little bit up front for the Canadiens, but they need a whole lot of work on that back end. They'll get there, Steele. It's coming. but it's not happening yet. So we're going to fade this Montreal team in a heavy way. Detroit on the money line is my lock of the night. And let's also remember, as you mentioned very astutely, the Red Wings have points in 8 of their last 10 against the Canadiens. So hit me with the Red Wings money line minus 170 as my lock of the night.
I absolutely love when we're on the same page, and we've got 2 of the same bets out here, so that makes me even more confident going in with these big-time bets for Thursday night. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning is when you can find all of our episodes, listening to it on the way to work, at the gym, going for a walk, doesn't matter. Tune in every single day, 7 o'clock in the morning. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.